Whether I'm saying hello or goodbye, or missing the deadline completely, I'll get it one of these days, guys. I freaking love November! My favorite month of the year. Always has, and I hope it always will be. Why? Well, for me it always felt like the start of the holiday season as we would get Thanksgiving off from school and college, which was a nice precursor to the Christmas break we would get in the next month. But on a higher note, once I entered the era of the N64, I started to notice that November was a month when really amazing games would come out. Many of them I still remember getting, then going home and blowing my entire Thanksgiving vacation, visiting everyone in their world. Now, this list is kind of unconventional already, and I feel like I need to explain a few things of how this is going to work. Firstly, not only did the game have to come out in November in the US, but I had to play it right away, so even if it showed up at the right time, I had to be there to meet, greet, and possibly beat it! If the first rule doesn't apply, then you might want to keep this one in mind. Even if the game was good, I have to have fond or strong memories while playing it. I had a funeral to go to after Smash Wii U came out, and the next week I could only play on the gamepad while taking on the events. Enough said. And of course, for the sake of formality and keeping things fair, only one per franchise, but spin-offs will be counted separately. I'm putting that personal title to good use for this one, as I'm taking you guys through my memory lane. Let's start it off! Woohoo! But wait, don't you love Mario Galaxy or something? Why is it so low for being one of the best games that is the best of all time that's the best? You know, it's usually a good idea to wait and listen for explanations before asking questions. It'll help you from having to correct that comment later. Super Let's Have Fun in Space lives up to its name and light years beyond. It's hard to take one step in the cosmos and not look forward to what's coming your way. However, the game itself is only a part of the list. The other is about a memory burned into my membrane. And that's why this starts it off. There really isn't one. Unlike the other games on here that have a more significant moment during my time playing them, this was just a case of wait and play. Well, there is one little detail. I was there in the store when they cut open the first box, and there was no one else buying anything. Which, yeah, first one from the retailer with this highly anticipated title without a midnight release. I guess that alone just barely puts it above any game from the honorable mentions. Cutting it just a little close. Just a little.
They score! Well, it's hopeless, but they're still trying.
No, you didn't accidentally switch to another channel. NHL Hits 2002 was exactly the kind of sports game I like playing. The non-realistic and therefore more fun ones. At the start of the GameCube's lifespan was this little fisticuffs on ice. It's been years since I've really got to play the game, but the memory I have is cemented firmly into my temporal lobe. I have two older brothers. Both are kind of picky about the games they play, but even they wouldn't mind this one. The middle brother, however, would normally score a goal, then spend the whole game trying to run away with the puck. Yeah, I grew up with trolls. So after playing a couple of matches against just a computer, I was able to turn the tables and perform hat tricks better than magicians. For the epilogue, I got better than my brother, he got mad, he wasn't able to troll me anymore, and I was left to play against the CPUs from now on. At least they won't punch me in the shoulder after I win. Remember, I said strong memories, not just good ones, and here's another one. How many times have I said the Ocarina of Time was the first time I've played the Zelda series in the past? Probably the same amount of times I just said times. I actually remember wanting to get the game because of all the hype and some friends talking about it. I didn't want to be left out, even though I no longer have it on the N64 anymore. Plenty of other ways to play it though, so no worries. Unfortunately, I had a very important English assignment back in freshman high school back then. So I had to do the unthinkable. I had to put my game and my system away in a closet so I would be less distracted to play them. And if I did screw up the assignment, my parents couldn't take them away. So, what's the point? Why would something like this be number 8? Isn't this a bad memory? Not exactly. It taught me a good lesson on concentration and self-discipline, fighting those powerful temptations and doing what needed to be done. Man, if I had that kind of self-control right now, I'd actually be able to get a ton of videos out there. Why is Smash Wii U so good? Well, how about that? We have a recent entry for this list. But wow, is the 7th gen of Gotta Catch 'Em All really pulling through. It's more cinematic and expressive than ever. The formula was drastically changed to the fact that it's actually easier to see what's new. Wonderful, memorable NPCs that get it right. A team so pathetic you love them. And what can easily be looked at as the best new feature? Ride Pokemon have freed your HM slaves! Yes, HMs have finally been obliterated! So, what's the problem? Why only 7? Is it for symbolic reasons, or because it's still too new to be higher? It's actually because of how long it takes me to play it. I don't have a fancy smancy 3DS capture doohickey, so I have to rely on camera trickery for this. That means I have to charge the battery and change the SD card constantly while making sure the quality looks good. Or good enough, I guess. So it's kind of a pain for me right now, but it's worth putting up with. There are times where I play ahead to see what's happening so I can get an early view of what I need to record. I've seen a couple of these parts 3 times now, and I'm not tired of it. That's how good it is. I was even trying to avoid all the spoilers and charts of when Pokemon learn new moves and such, and just enjoy blind. At least until I had to do the Yubi hunting. I was originally planning to do a 5 favorite trials list, but only 3 of them gave me enough stuff to talk about. Maybe I'll save some of that stuff if I ever do a review for it. You guys still like those, right? 6th place. I have the launch of the GameCube to thank for getting me to play this franchise. The first time I was able to truly take in the launch of a new system by getting the console and having 4 games at the beginning. Super Monkey Ball was unlike any game I had played before. It was just get to the end of the goal, but it felt like you were controlling the stage more than the character. Colorful, charming, and something new altogether. What a great way to start off Nintendo's new system with a Sega game. You youngsters just don't understand how big of a deal that was at the time. This one only had a handful of minigames, but bowling was all I needed as my middle brother and dad would actually play against me in this. And then they never played again after I figured out how to set up for a strike. Sometimes I wish I wasn't so good at these games.
Catch me if you can!
Sonic has been responsible for having me buy 2 systems, just so I can get his games. At the time Generations arrived in stores, I didn't have a PS3, but I was in the midst of getting one. Fortunately, I was actually in South Korea teaching English at this time with my oldest brother, and he had a PS3. So when he wasn't playing it, I was playing this one, and it made me want my own PS3 all the more. But I wasn't going to settle for any old PS3, no. I wanted one of the old discontinued ones that played PS2 games. Totally worth the wait. And here's a little footnote for this entry. I cleared the Modern Crisis City level and got the trophy look both ways on my first time playing the stage. Twice! Once on his PS3, and once for when I got mine. And those were the only times I ever pulled that off. I even recorded the second time with that non-HD Dazzle recorder. Finally, after all these years, I've found a good use for that footage. 4th place.
Hi there, I'm Chi-Chi.
Sometimes the memories we remember the most aren't always the ones filled with joy, glee, and cookies. 2 things could have easily have dampened my joy of Diddy Kong racing with his friends. First, the store lies to me about not getting the game in. Even back then I had games pre-ordered when I could, and for the guy on the phone to tell me it's not in, or even give me an idea of when it's coming in, has always given me the impression that I should always seek out another worker for more info, because you'll never know when you'll get a Squidward. For the record, I did that, and it was in stock. To continue with the story, can I just say that on the way there and back, I didn't know the sky could turn into a waterfall! No, I've seen rain and I've been in it before plenty of times, but I can never forget the sight of only water at night. If you open an umbrella, all you saw was what was under the umbrella. So for the first one, it's a life lesson, and the other is a sight that I have never seen again in my life. Did it dampen my experience with the game? No, in fact, it only made it more satisfying to get it. The harder it is to get something, the more you appreciate it. It's exactly the same feeling as when you beat the bosses in this game. Now that's a connection between events for you. 3rd place.
Hi, I'm Daisy.
Double Dash still remains my favorite in the series to this day. Sure, the first thing I did when I got it was play the demo of Sonic Heroes, but I had to get myself ready as a week later, the now out-of-business store Game Crazy was hosting a Mario Kart Double Dash time trial tournament. About 25 people showed up to compete, but many of them were kids who didn't even know how to power skid, and when I called them out for it, it didn't look good for me. Cause when it was my turn to play, the host said, "The guy talking smack is up, everyone!" I got a few boos, and while my legs were shivering, my grip on the controls were tight. After hitting a Goomba with a Koopa shell, I picked up the mushroom that came out for a boost, which, by the way, this is the only time that ridiculous sentence would ever make sense. I finished with the best time yet, and the host said, "Oh, the guy talking smack had something to prove." In the end, I maintained that top score, and my prize was a copy of the game I already had. Now I double love this game! Love it!
It's a trap!
The final GameCube entry on the list! And it established 2 things for me. The first was when I got to try a demo of the game at a Toys R Us. What did I take away from it? This game is amazing? Well, obviously, but a bigger note was, man, that GameCube controller sure was sweet! Do you remember where you were when you first tried that controller? I do. On another note, I'd also like to say that for Rogue Leader, Monkey Ball, and NHL Hits, I got them before they and even the system came out! No joke! I got them in an EB Games, and surprisingly, it's still there with its name intact in the US to this very day! They let me pick up the GameCube games early, unless they were made by Nintendo themselves. When the cashier asked me what I was going to do with the games without having the system, I looked at the games for a second, looked back at him and said, "I'm going to read the manuals." He then said, "You're a true gamer." That was the first time I had been called that, and like the feeling I had with the controller, it felt pretty good. Excuse me everyone, before I reveal that number 1, can I just ask everyone to please wait until the commentary has come to a complete stop before raising your voice at me?
Terrible choice, Brad. Terrible choice.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Does the game have its flaws? Yes, and I will bring up as many of them as I can whenever I finally review this thing. That being said, there are elements I absolutely adore about Battlefront Cash Grab that I can honestly put up with some of the poo-doo. But the reason it's number 1 is a story that I'm sure many of you would love to have. So watch that anger turn into jelly. Sweet, delicious jelly. So we have a little place that sometimes the family gets together at for Thanksgiving. There's the family room with a big screen TV, and a smaller room with a lower quality TV. I am one of the only few people in the entire family that has virtually no interest in watching sports. So as you may have guessed, it's reserved for the fantasy football players. But that year, a miracle happened. The satellite wasn't working on the big screen, but for whatever reason, it was okay on the smaller one. The technicians wouldn't be coming out anytime soon, so if they want to watch their Thanksgiving games, they're gonna have to move into the cramped space in that other room, which meant I had the big screen and all that space in the room to myself. Oh come on, that's a gamer's fantasy to be in control of a giant video box during a family gathering. I know it sounds like I must have done something to the satellite, and I don't really blame you for thinking that. I'd question myself that as well, but I still don't understand what was really the problem in the first place. But why look a gift AT-AT in the mouth? And that just about does it for this list, and I have no idea if you want to make a list like this, but if you've got some memories, I'll be happy to read them. That Thanksgiving, I was grateful that satellite sucks. I think I only have about 20 seconds for this part because of the new in cards, but since most viewers only cared about the plugs and future stuff, I'll just jump into those right away. However, since I'm not sure how many people will still be watching this in any month besides November, I'll just plug Metropolis Zone's channel again, as this guy has been working a lot on his reviews, and if you're okay with the mature language, you should check them out. As for a future video, it's the review for Bomberman 64 The Second Attack. Later everyone!